equipment in here too. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting back here, and you can hear my voice.
I know exactly. We don't have to be,
have to be close to
the microphone. I
it's
feel
live of Memorex, I know. But that's why
it looks good. It looks good. They look even more professional.
Because Dr. Bradley and I can testify. Our testimony is that when we came in, we were in that little room across the hall on the AM at night, and how the AM signal is at night. It's like when WILD used to be on, and when they were about to go off because they were only during sunset, right, during the day.
Yeah,
and then you couldn't hear it.
Yeah,
and that's where.
In addition to that, it was like having the tin cans and the rope.
Exactly.
Yeah. But now you can sit back here and just relax in the chair, and just like you're having a conversation, just sitting here. You don't have to lean forward. Just sit neutral and just let it happen.
Well, Brother Rose is still swallowing. You take a bite out of crying. Is that Bill? Yeah. Yep.
He's trying to figure out how to.
Oh, that's right. But we got to get you on the air here, so you can actually go live. So, again, we want to thank our sponsor, The Money Store. For all your mortgage needs, give branch manager Cora Holbrook a call at area code 508-345-4726. Again, that's The Money Store. Gentlemen, we're talking about politics there, but, we have a couple of important events coming up this week. I'm proud to say that I'm part of Boston Tea Leaves. We were able to secure a grant to try to quell some of the violence here in the city of Boston and across the Commonwealth. And we've been putting it in place. We've been putting things together. And finally, we're going to be having a couple of rollouts next week. The community care team meeting is going to be held at MAMLEO headquarters at 61 Columbia Road next Wednesday, October 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. And we're excited to welcome Boston Tea Leaves. You're officially invited to an exciting evening of connection and collaboration that you won't want to miss. Join us as we mix and mingle with our outstanding collaborators and get to know the dynamic team behind Boston Tea Leaves. This is your chance to learn about our mission and the work we do. All in a relaxed atmosphere. Enjoy complimentary food and refreshing beverages. So, and then on Thursday, there's going to be a training component to this resiliency building with Boston Tea Leaves at the Sportsman's Tennis Club, located at, what's the address here?
Franklin Field.
At 950 Blue Hill Avenue, Dorchester. That's going to be from on October 31st, Halloween. So don't get scared by that. From 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And like I said, folks are invited. And if you want more information, you can give us a call here at 617-282-0685, 617-282-0685, and we'll get that information to you. Like I said, both of these events are invited. The public is welcome to attend. And I have the honor and privilege of having on the line one of my partners in crime from years ago, but as well as one of the resiliency building members, community outreach coordinator, Bill Willis, a retired Boston police officer, an avid tennis player, and proud to say my brother. I know, Dr. Bradley, you know Bill Willis.
Well, yeah, I know Bill very well.
Bill, good morning. How are you, sir?
Bill, are you there?
Bill? Bill, did we lose you? Hello, Bill. Bill? Bill, you there?
From what I understand, Bill is a very good tennis player, man.
He is.
I have never played tennis. I play golf, and the swing could be something similar.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing from people, man, this guy can really play it.
And he's still in his prime at his age. He's in his prime. And he's done. In fact, he teaches us a little bit. And
that's good.
Yeah,
hopefully, he can teach me how to play it, because I tend to try to hit the ball like a baseball, man. It goes completely go out in the stratosphere.
It's kind of a little bit in the family of golf.
Golf, you have to have a certain swing technique.
Yeah, you lob it. You can hit it into the sand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but that's something I think that we need to play in this country more. Mm-hmm. You tend to get that game played a lot in the Caribbean, in England, but there's a lot of lot of scholarships out there for that, man.
There are, and those are the ones that I think people look at the ones that are more popular, basketball, football, right? And they don't look at some of these other ones. And actually, you have a better chance of getting, like you said, a tennis or a golf, or especially these schools, because sports is a big thing in most colleges, right? And if you get some, particularly when you have the cost of college now. I know you're still at Curry, right?
I'm still there, yes.
And what does it cost to attend if you're a full-time student?
A pretty penny. I'm not really exactly
and a penny's
sure.
not worth much these days.
No, it's not worth much, but the education is.
Right.
But it's pretty expensive, and Curry is not the only school though.
Right.
Education overall is very expensive.
Right. And there's a free education. People don't understand that some of the state schools for people in certain
Massasoit
income
Community College. I'm actually one of the adjunct. I'm on the adjunct team staff there. In fact, I'm teaching a couple of courses in criminal justice and history.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of vehicles, financial vehicles that people are not aware of that's come by the state that allow those students to go to school free. Now, meaning I shouldn't say free. I should say if you got money to go, like you got a grant or something like that, and you're missing, you need another 10,000. There's a gap. Those state will come in and fill that gap.
Okay.
And you don't have to pay that money back.
Okay.
Also help you with the books. Like Mass Connect and Mass Ed.
But there's a certain grade level you have to maintain, right? When you get in there, you can't just be,
Well, you have to you have to participate as a professor. What we tend to do is, like, every so often we have to report back to the registrar as to who's participating, who's not participating. So you can't just come and not show up.
Right.
All right. But unlike it was when we came through, you do have financial avenues to get the education free of charge, and would not have to worry about tuition, reimbursements and things of that nature, paying that stuff back.
Yeah.
In the future.
And Roxbury Community College is one of those as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's most state schools,
Yes.
particularly the 2-year schools.
2-year schools, which is extremely important because each 2-year school will have a 4-year school that's working with them to develop their curriculum.
Yeah.
So in essence, if you're going to Massasoit Community College, you can go to Curry College because Curry College is our program helped them develop and work. The deans work very closely with each other.
Okay.
So they recognize and will accept those credits, and that's important because it's going to decrease the amount of time you have to do.
And that people should also recognize the fact that if you go or attend the Boston public school system, if you maintain a B average from kindergarten or whatever grade you start there to the time that you graduate, you maintain a B average, you have access to those community colleges.
Right.
You're granted a scholarship because you maintain the B average.
Right.
And most people, again, they go to the Boston public school system, aren't aware of this.
That's what I'm talking about.
Or the other thing too is that they, you have this this idea, this cloud cast on community colleges or junior colleges.
Yeah.
These are for 2-year schools. You're getting an associate's degree. I have an associate's degree. I got it from Fisher. Back in the 20th century. But my point is this, this is quality education.
Right.
Because, like, for instance,
At a discount.
at a discount, because I'm teaching at one of these schools. So you have people like myself who are not only a PhD but also a practitioner in the area that they're teaching. So I can give your education on both sides of the equation, on the practical side as well as the theoretical side.
Right.
I can tell you how that theory represents itself on the practical side. So you got some quality education.
And one of the young men I mentor, he's now a police detective, and that's one of the advised him because he was attending one of these underperforming high schools. And I said, look, I don't want you to get caught up and really disappointed when you apply to a 4-year school. And if you get in there, you find out you're not prepared. So let's go to RCC, which he did. I said, because if you keep up your grades, you can now transfer to one of these more schools, and your bachelor's degree will say that school.
Right? Yes, exactly.
And that's the important
exactly.
part. And you'll have paid less for it. You're half price.
Exactly. Not going into debt and not having to, and then the absorbent price because you got the scholarship. You're getting that free degree.
Exactly. So I think we've cleared up our technical issues with our brother Bill Willis. Bill, can you hear us?
Yes. Very choppy, not too good.
Okay, I know we've got some new equipment in here, so we apologize if you're getting a little feedback or static. We're trying to work those kinks out. We've got some new equipment installed here, and we're getting used to it this morning ourselves. So apologize in advance for that. So, Bill, I gave you another a very quiet introduction. We were saying, that you and I worked together over the years in the police department, and you're now retired. And I was pleasantly happy to bring you out of retirement somewhat on the Boston Tea Leaves. And then we're talking about the event, that upcoming event, the community care team meeting being held at MAMLEO headquarters next Wednesday, October 30th, from 6 to 8 p.m. And we're saying we're excited to welcome people to Boston Tea Leaves. Want to talk a little bit about Bill first before we talk about is how we got here. The innovative in being able to secure a grant to help to try to quell some of the violence in the Boston public schools, but some of our surrounding schools. Bill and I know both from working in the schools. We saw it up front and up close. And sadly, with a lot of the reforms that came about wanting to help our kids, it also took away some of the programs and some of the people who could access to them. I know my last few years there, I didn't have as much access to young people as I used to because all these obstacles were put in the way, and we saw that. So this program allows people like myself and Bill, who are no longer in law enforcement because the program doesn't have any law enforcement component attached to it, to be able to engage not with the students, but with the adults, with community people, caretakers, with staffing, and training them up and connecting them in a hub model to be able to provide support systems to our young people. So we're hoping it trickles that back down to them in a meaningful way. So, Bill, want to say good morning. Welcome to the Roundtable. I don't know if we've had you on the show before. And can you hear me?
Yes, actually, I came on when I retired a few years ago.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. And Dr. Bradley was also talking about your prominence in the tennis world, and he said he needs a few lessons.
Yeah, well, I'm a golfer, so I need
You know how
someone.
to swing, then.
I have a pretty good swing on that, but I need someone like like Bill, who has the knowledge of tennis to show me. This is not golf. This is tennis. This is how you actually spin the ball. This is how you put some spin on it and you die and make the ball die in this area.
Sure.
Well, Bill is still out there doing it. But Bill, so I want to get your take. I know you came in shortly after I did in this program, and you were really a welcome addition to this because I know your commitment to our young people. And when I reached back out to you, you'd already been coaching some of our young folks and as a basketball coach and still involved in a meaningful way, still in the heart of the community. Explain to folks the importance of that connection and why you feel that you got involved with this program with Boston Tea Leaves, this violence reduction program, and what people should expect to maybe take away from the upcoming events on Wednesday and then Thursday, the training at the Sportsman's Tennis Club.
Yes. Well, first I want to say I like getting involved with people that are passionate about what they do. So when Larry tapped into me, he explained the program to me and what his goal and his mission was, and it interests me. And I realized that it was a lot of work. It was going to be difficult to do, but I felt that the mission was so important that it was something that I wanted to be involved in. And I think for me, like you said, Larry, I work in the community. I coach basketball now, and I've been doing that for many years. I coach tennis. I was out at Randolph High School for a couple of years coaching their tennis team, and I always have worked with Sportsmen's and another tennis program, Resources and Recreation, formerly Franklin Park Tennis Association. So sports is kind of my thing, and sports allows me to have a connection with the young people in the community, and I always feel like it's kind of like, in a sense, like planting a seed and watching it grow. So with this organization, the big thing that attracted me was, Larry talked about collaboration. With Boston has a ton of resources. We're a unique city in that way because it's an urban environment. We have a lot of diversity, a lot of children of color within the inner city that I don't feel have the real access to the resources that Boston has to offer. And I'm not saying that they're denied the access, but I think that the dissemination of the information, even with the technology that we have, is not as good as it should be. So we have to disseminate that information by having boots on the ground and making those connections. I feel like there's a chain that we have that connects us, but the chain is broken. So
Absolutely.
I feel,
No, I'm saying because I know you came in, and I really appreciate your passion, your energy, right? And because I came in a little early and saw some of the impediments in the way, and you talk about how hard it is. It's like almost like people. If you, I'm in the real estate heavily, so I know like when you're building a house, right? The hardest part sometimes is getting that foundation right, because if you don't get the foundation correct, the house is in jeopardy. I don't care how nice it looks; it will not stand if the foundation has problems, because you just can't pick the house up and fix it. It's very expensive if you can. But I know, Bill, can you explain to folks a little bit as well some of the obstacles that we've had? I think one would think something of this nature, where this is a fully funded program, which very rarely comes about for organizations, and that you would think it'd be more well received and embraced, right? But that hasn't been the case in some instances.
So that has been challenging to me, and
Yeah.
I kind of feel like the perception of some of the people, the directors that run these community centers. Some of them are small community centers or small organizations, and I think they're doing a great job at what they do, and I think they kind of feel like, hey, I'm doing so well, if I share my information, that somebody's going to come in and they're going to try to duplicate what I have going on. And my feeling is like the duplication, the replication of what you have is really what you want. It's not going to be necessarily in your space. You may operate out of Roxbury or Hyde Park or the South End. Somebody else, if they're going to duplicate it or replicate it, they're going to replicate it somewhere else.
Right.
Outside, on another section of the city. So what we say that imitation, right, is what you want, right? If you, everybody wants their program to grow. I don't care if it's a school, it's a community center, or whatever, right? If you have a school, you want your enrollment to be busting at the seams. If you have a organization, a community organization, you want that busting at the seams. You want to be able to turn away kids. And if you can turn away kids, then you know what that means. Somebody else has to do something similar to what you're doing, or you're going to have to hire more staff for your organization, right? If your organization is really good and you go on for years with this great organization, you want somebody naming a building after you. That's what you want, right? We have some organizations that have partnered with us that have built new buildings or are building new buildings, like Sportsman's Tennis Center and Youth Enrichment Services. Okay, so that's telling you that their businesses, their organizations still continue to grow.
Right.
You want your organizations to grow also, right? In the end, when it's all done, you want them erecting statues of you or putting your name on a building, right? But they only do that when you're dead.
Right.
Right? So if they're able to do that, then that says that you've done something good. And if somebody duplicates what you're doing, you know what? It's probably going to be somebody that came up through your program. And that's exactly what you want to happen. You don't have a fear of that. Don't run away from that. This is what we need. We need every child in this city to have somewhere to go that is sports-based, education-based, music, dance, arts, whatever, all of those things, to mentor those kids, get them off the streets, have them. They should be going from school directly to a community center, and then they go home to eat, do some homework or whatever, or go to bed. And a lot of these programs have a homework component or tutorial program, within their organization. So, when I just, take a look at the Olympics and see what our people have been able to do, and we should have that same component here in the city.
Right.
There are so many gems in this city, right? The people that are running these community organizations and the children in this city. We just need to connect them, tap into that, and show them the greatness that they can be.
Right.
And that, to me, that is the answer for to the violence. It's not a secret, right?
No, it's not. I mean,
we all know how to do it. It's just that there's not enough of us involved in
Right.
it and doing it.
Right, and I think
It's not rocket science.
No, I think to your point, right? We don't see this violence in a lot of even communities within Boston, right? Certain communities, right? Because of that support, because of that infrastructure, and we don't see it outside. And it's not by happenstance that these things aren't taking place. It's because the community is involved in a meaningful way. They're not let it get out of control. And Dr. Brown, I want to ask you because you headed up the safety and climate for it. Basically, was responsible for the safety in Randolph schools for several years. Did you have such a program like this available to you? Because you were almost like a one-man show, right? And then you was,
one of the biggest problems we had in Randolph was that we didn't have a rec center. We just recently built one.
Oh, wow.
It was a problem in school because what happened was that the kids started going to the businesses in the town to hang out.
Yeah.
And they were kids are gonna be kids. So he's right on target where that you have a place where you can actually control that energy.
Right.
And try to show them how to filter the energy into an area. I'm okay?
I was gonna say it's funny when the neighborhoods had a different demographic. They had a lot of recreational activities such as swimming, fishing, Boy Scouts. They had different things for the youth to do within the community. And now that the demographics have changed, it seems that those programs.
You're absolutely right. Because in Randolph, what we had was a skating rink.
Right.
You know what I mean? We had a skating rink, and people were encouraged to play hockey. Dude, you have a huge demographic shift in the town.
Right.
And the majority of the town are people of color. We don't play hockey.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Although we did invent it.
Well, I concur with that. But now we have a rec center where we are playing things like basketball and we're doing things like tennis. So Bill is on target here because that was my major frustration was I get calls from people in the town, from business owners, like, what are you doing about these kids coming? In fact, Burger King's, in my opinion, was a good thing, shut down because they couldn't deal with the youth coming into the establishment, doing what they should be doing.
Right.
At rec centers.
617-282-0685. 617-282-0685 is the caller number. You're listening to At the Roundtable with MAMLEO. We're talking about the upcoming event, the Community Care Team Meeting, going to be held at MAMLEO headquarters at 61 Columbia Road next Wednesday, October 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. There's going to be beverages and food there. So that always brings folks into the room. So like I said, on the line is Bill Willis, who is one of the community outreach coordinators, along with myself, someone I've had the pleasure and privilege of working with in my law enforcement, and now I've had the honor and pleasure to continue that outside of that. And I tell you, if you, and I mean this with all sincerity and love and respect, Bill is someone I have a lot of respect for. He and I, even when I was in police, we'd have these conversations, but they weren't adversarial. We'd see things sometimes from a different lens. And Bill is like myself. We like to push our people because we know they can do better. And sometimes people will perceive that as, oh, you think you're better than them because you now have X, Y, and Z. And that is not the case. What I'm saying is that it is achievable because we see it.
Exactly.
And if you see it, you breathe it. And Bill, because the other piece is that, every summer, they would always set up these basketball things as if somehow they were trying to tell our kids the only way you can be successful if you play basketball or something. And I had always said I'd like to see them with a more structured, learning environment during the summer.
Yeah, well, actually, Bill was going to say something because I have another hit after he finished.
Go ahead, Bill. I know you want to chime in.
Yeah, so just because Willie had mentioned hockey, and it's interesting because I went over and I visited the recreation center over there on Malcolm X Boulevard now. Or I'm watching them. Martin Luther King, I understand the name Martin Luther King Boulevard. I speak to change and all the time. But anyway, over in Washington Park, that's what we used to call it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
back in the
when
day.
I was growing up, there was a skating rink there, so
Yes.
we did play hockey. And several of my friends, not me, but several of my friends played ice hockey in high school.
I did too. Yeah.
Back then. So we had some of those things. So, just talking about that specifically, my thing is like that old movie, right? The baseball movie. If you build it, they will come. So we just had a kid from Stoughton win a bronze medal in the Olympics, right?
Yes. Yep.
So he talks about his access and opportunity to things that traditionally our kids weren't exposed to. We should have all of those things. We should have gymnastics.
Yeah.
We should have volleyball. We should have dance. We should have theater.
Variety.
We should have all of those
We
things.
should have variety.
And
Yeah.
in order for that to happen, we need volunteers. We need people in the community that look like, speak like, and act like some of the people or children that we're dealing with. So it's important for us to give back to our community.
Yeah. Well, see,
And
with that said, Bill, just quick, people, when you talking about, we used to play hockey on my street. We were playing growing up. It was something that I really enjoyed. Yeah. We would go to the old Zares. That's how I'm showing my age.
Oh,
Did you say Zares?
Yeah, and I played goalie, and we would go over there, and they would sell the cushions for your couch. And I cut one in half, and I got some amount, and I got in trouble for it. But I cut my mom's laundry line down, and cut holes in the cushion and ran it through there and made goalie pads out of it. Right? So,
Creative, brother. Very creative.
right? So, but I say that because I was the goalie for South Boston High's hockey team.
Oh, okay.
And you should have
Right.
seen people's faces when I lifted up the helmet. Because, again, I would intentionally always go out there with the helmet on, so they couldn't really see him because I'm not really dark complexion. People thought I was white until I lifted up my helmet. At the end of the period, and people would be like, there would be this gasp, like
I thought it was all white. I thought the ice was all white.
it wasn't a mask. So no,
Well, that's
Bill-
nice to know.
no.
I mean, I came up through basketball,
Yeah.
so I didn't really
But-
get in that piece. Now I'm a golfer, but
Yeah.
I got you. I
Yeah.
got you.
But Bill, does it concern you? We talk about because now that you're seeing it from a different perspective. Because when we were in law enforcement, we had limitations on how honest we could be. Not saying that we were lying to people, but if you were representing the police department,
Rule 102.
you couldn't say some of the truth
Rule
about
102.
things. We always kind of were able to incorporate it. But now that we're outside of that, I'm still finding that people are not as receptive as you would think they would be for the help that these young people need. And like I said, this is geared towards helping adults, training adults, getting adults more acclimated and involved. But I say this, Bill, because a lot of you talking about, and we've talked about on this broadcast many times, is gentrification. And that our community is starting to change, right? I know you live in an area where you're already experiencing that. Do you see that as going to help with dealing with some of these issues because of who it may be impacting going forward, or do you see things kind of being stagnant?
Are you asking about the gentrification issue? Do I think?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about that and tying it into like a lot of getting the access and seeing more of a receptive of wanting these type of programs in the schools and wanting this type of help because people are paying a lot more. Boston's taxes are going to be going up starting next year if you own a home. And I tell people, if you're a renter, don't think it's not going to get passed on to you. It will. But what I mean is that because of the population changing in the city, people aren't going to want to be paying high taxes and putting their kids in the private school. Do you think that will help people being more receptive because those parents might be more likely to want these type of programs in their schools, in their community?
I don't know specifically. I think you've said a lot with that, but I think that it has to come from within, right? We have to tap into these resources, and I think that's where Boston Tea Leaves, where we come in, right? We're going to try to give the footprint of what we feel works, and like I said, it's not rocket science. Like we know that if we keep the kids, right, when we're working in school units, you keep the kids off the streets and in the school, then they have a propensity to be more successful.
Yeah.
Than
the
somebody
reason, let me just follow back a little bit on what I'm saying so you have an understanding of it. The reason why I say that is because the relationships and the partnerships that we've been able to establish, the ones that we have been around the edges of the Boston Public School. We have not been able to really make inroads into the larger system in a way that we thought it would be embraced. I guess if that explains a little better what I'm talking about. Because you see like those who are somewhat private institutions or charter schools or schools outside of the Boston district don't have the resources that they seem to be a little bit more open to some help than a system that has a $1.4 billion budget and really has a lot of problems that have been identified by the state of the lack of learning. We have this question on the ballot in a couple of weeks on whether or not to keep MCAS. So I'm hoping that kind of defines a little bit more what I was trying to get from you.
Yeah, I think, in some ways, the school system, when you come in and you're talking about we have a violence prevention program, they want to kick back and say that, well, we don't have a violence problem. And my feeling is I try to get them to look through the lens of victimization as opposed to perpetrators. So when you're talking about being a victim of violence, violence comes in many forms. It's food insecurities, housing insecurities, lack of access to good medical care. So it doesn't always mean that somebody was assaulted, physically assaulted or something like that. But we know that some of those issues that I stated could lead to being physically assaulted, just because you're hanging out in the street.
But also,
you're not doing the right thing.
Right. To that point of
lack of education.
What you just said, violence prevention, and I think that's what people confuse, right? Is what you're trying to do is get ahead of those things, right? By having things in place. That's what we're trying to do, is prevent violence, not react and respond to the violence.
Yes, that's a great point.
And I think people hear violence and they just don't hear the prevention piece of it. So that's, I think, the hardest part, is because it's in there, and you're right, because a lot of these places don't have it, but they're receptive because they don't want it to come knocking on the door in a place that experiences.
So I think the general public is with us, Larry. It's spot on what you're saying. So I think it's important for us to get the politicians out to support us, the local politicians, and that's why voting is important.
Yes.
We got a big election coming up in 2 weeks, but really local politics is always more important than national politics. So we've got to support our local politicians. We've got to, have a group of individuals, whether you want to call it a pack or whatever, but a group of individuals that can kind of use their political will, and to get some things moving in the right direction. If we have something, we're putting something out that is free of charge, like you mentioned, and we're trying to help. It's not the panacea, but it's a tool in the tool belt that I feel is, something good that we can have for our community. And one thing that I like about the program that we have, it's like we can tweak it. We have the ability to kind of steer it in the direction that we feel would be most useful to the people in the community. So everything that we're doing now is not written in stone. But I mean, we have certain guidelines because of the way the grant was written. There's certain guidelines that we have to follow. But I don't think that we have a etched in stone blueprint that says that we can't tweak it this way or that way to get the best result from the mission that we want to accomplish.
And the beauty of that as well is that people saying this is a 2-year proof of concept, right? So, and you're right, Bill, and I appreciate you saying that, is that this is the time to get the input. This is why this community care team meeting and bringing in some of those folks and folks from the community is getting some feedback from them on what we're doing and how can we make it better and how can we be more inclusive, because the eventual goal is to emulate this in other places, not just here, but across the country, to expand and bringing in more people like Bill and others who have that passion about our community and have proven that, not just looking to have a job or something to do, right? And so that, to me, Boston has always been the leader in a lot of these. We've had years ago we had the very few young people murdered in the city of Boston. That has changed, unfortunately. So we've always been a leader here, but things have changed. There was more of a spirit of cooperation back then too, that I'm not seeing today, and things become more political, sadly, and people pay a price for that. So there are obstacles, but I'm not discouraged by those things. I'm encouraged that we're making some inroads, because
no, not at all. But I think, Larry, in your capacity as the president of MAMLEO, you went after people that weren't doing what we felt were in the best interest of all the people in the city. All right, not just one group of people. So, because of that, some people may be reluctant to want to work with you, on the city level, whatever. But I mean, you were just looking out for the constituents of the city. So, I feel that it wasn't a personality thing. You know, you would often say those things. It's not that you don't like a person as an individual, but you're fighting, you know, for the rights of all of us. You know, that was kind of what MAMLEO, you know, stood for. So with that being said, I think that at least the civilian side of the city, not political side, but this is something that's positive, and I want people just to, you know, have the opportunity to come out and see us in action.
Yeah.
You know, come by on the 30th and see what we have going on.
Yeah.
At MAMLEO, it's going to be at you know, our old Minority Officers Union Hall, 61 Columbia Road, at 6 o'clock on the 30th. So I hope people come out and just get to see us in person, get to hear our message, and you know, we're going to be taking suggestions also.
Right.
So I think this is I'm really big on community and us working together.
Right.
So bridging the gap. And that's what I want to happen. That's what I want to see.
Right. So,
you know,
Bill, before
we all may have-
before we let you get back to your coffee, also, so the following day there's going to be the Resiliency Building with Boston Tea Leaves, and that's going to be at the Sportsman's Tennis Club at 950 Blue Alive in Dorchester from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Tell folks a little bit about that. I know some of the topics going to be the key impact of trauma, recognizing the signs of trauma, building a trauma-informed approach, create a safe environment, promoting resiliency and coping skills. Some of the benefits of that are increased awareness, improved support, enhanced communication, creating a safer environment, empowering resilience. And Bill, can you explain to people why, like I said, this collaboration and what we're trying to do, and you articulated it quite well earlier, is that there are so many resources in this city, but we've been working in silos in that regard, right? And even amongst ourselves.
Yes.
And that explain the importance of this training, because sometimes, like I said, we look at things from different lenses, we all do. And even if we all look at it right after each other, we're not going to see it the same. But if we're somehow able to get a little bit of more of the other person's perspective of the same matter, we can have a meaningful conversation about how we can try to come to some solutions about it.
Well, my feeling is one size doesn't fit all. We have actually
like
three tennis organizations that have partnered with us, Larry. And the mission is the same with all of them. So one particular organization doesn't have to eat up the other one.
Yeah.
I think there's a space for all of us, you know. So I think it's important that we have to understand that if you're not collaborating, then you're competing.
I like
And
that.
in our community, we don't need to be competing because there's enough resources here for all of us to eat, right? There's a big enough pie for all of us to get a piece. It's not about who got the biggest slice or anything like that. It's like, how can we get in there and serve this community to the best of our ability? And Boston is unique in the sense that all you got to do is go down and look at the seaport, right? That was a vision 20 years ago or whatever. That was a mess down there. You went down there with just fish piers. It was, things were broken up. It wasn't just a place where you really wanted to go. It wasn't like you go there and there's just a place like, I'm going to look at the ocean and stuff, because the ocean stunk years ago. Now it's all cleaned up. We got dolphins and seals and whales and everything in there and stuff. So now you can, you know, get in one of those towers and stuff and look out into the ocean and stuff, and it's absolutely gorgeous. But we're not represented down there. You know, there's been articles in the Globe written about that. But with that being said, you know what? But they're getting a lot of tax dollars down there, right? You got multi-million-dollar condos. You got thriving businesses down there. That's part of the money that is also going to the neighborhoods also. So we need to tap into those resources. Like, okay, if you're not going to give us access to be able to have the kind of employment to be able to live in one of those condos, then will the people that can, since we're part of the city, then we want some of those tax dollars to funnel into our areas also, because we ought to have schools, community centers that when you walk in there, you're like, wow. You should be amazed every time you walk into one of these schools or these buildings. Our schools were built 40, 50, 60, or even longer years ago when they were fallout shelters and stuff, and we had fear of other nations bombing us. You know, so now it's different. So we shouldn't even be in those old buildings anymore. They should be tearing down those buildings, building new buildings, you know, for one neighborhood by one neighborhood and stuff. So our kids have a place to go where they can be excited about And then the same thing with our community centers. You know, a lot of the schools, they serve as community centers after school, but still, they're not that exciting, beautiful place that you get out when you go out into the suburban communities. If they can do it out there, we can duplicate it here, because we know we have the children that can reach new heights. I don't know if Willie knows, but from the old Dennison House days, so one of the young ladies that I coached basketball in, Sharon Russell, her daughter, Masai Russell, won the 100-meter hurdles in the Olympics.
Oh, really?
You know, she's a gold medal, yes.
Yeah, I remember her. Wow.
Yeah, so I say that was one of my kids. So when you look at the legacy of what we created, the lives that we were able to touch, it's like we own a little piece of that. You know, that's important. Because if you go back to her and you speak to her, just like you're saying, you were excited when I told you about that. When I contacted her, we're Facebook friends, Sharon, she was like, Bill, you were my coach. I remember you. It's like, yeah, that's the legacy.
Wow.
You know, I have a kid that I got from sportsmen that I trained and took him from tennis to the NBA. You know, the USCA magazine did an article on me about how I was able to take this kid from the tennis to the NBA. So he played tennis and he played basketball, you know, and ended up going to the NBA and having a great career over in Europe, and is doing he got his own program now, Simmons Academy. That's doing wonderful things now.
Right, but this is why people like Bill is so important. This is why I was happy to tap into bringing him back on board because of that. I mean, Bill is, without even identifying how many young people he has mentored and touched, right, is it when he was going through a little rough patch with BPD and trying to find a new place to work to manage. I said, Bill, please come over to the school unit. You'd be a great asset. And he proved me right. And again, he's proven me right here. And the community should be grateful to have leaders like himself. And he's one of those quiet, unassuming leaders. Bill is not somebody that goes out there and does a rah-rah, but he just gets it done. And that's what I love about that brother. But, you know, we have some challenging times. You know, we're seeing that the city is now, you know, the COVID money has run out. They're talking about challenging financial. Now, the city's school budget is almost $1.4 billion. That is the GDP of some nations. Isn't that large?
Yeah.
And so we're not seeing much in that return. So they're going to need programs like Boston Tea Leaves, where it's just coming to them at no cost. And folks are going to have to put any personal differences aside, as Bill alluded to. I've never saw it as a personal issue with any of these politicians or any of these folks that standing up for our folks. I know if we don't, who will, right? The other side has no problem. Like I said, they're all standing behind a convicted felon on the other side of the aisle, and they're saying we don't care because they think he has their best interest in heart. They'll find out the hard way. But we need to advocate for our young people, and we can't just say, well, we've made it, and it's tough to be you. You know, I'm using a problem.
You got to reach back out and give them a helping hand or a lifting hand, and get them on that level, and then and so on and so on.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate the information Bill just shared, because my ex-wife was the director at the Dennison House.
And Bill, I don't know if you're watching, but you should see the smile that you put on Dr.
I remember her. I remember her. You know, I do. I know exactly who he's talking about.
That makes a difference. I know.
Yeah, Magnolia Street.
With young people and then seeing
back in the day,
success. I remember a young man that I had, he was out there writing graffiti on the walls and stuff, and I was going to my car in the parking lot, and I brought him across the street to the police station in 18, and we kind of called his parent, and we put him through the process, and he came on this broadcast, and he said that was a changing in his life because it got at him ahead of time that he knew that doing things wrong was not going to be, and now he's doing well. And to me, it's not everyone's going to be successful in some type of athletics, but just successful in life.
Well, the other thing too with this young lady, that Bill mentioned, putting her in a position to actually have such an influence on the person that is not even here yet, to the point where she now is a gold medal winner. I mean, I am so. I'm blown away because I remember the person. I know who he's talking about.
Well, the interesting thing about that is like she comes from the mentorship that we provided. And we had that small little community center, which was so important in my life. Still to this day, best job I ever had. I want to let you know that. So you and Ma'am were a huge influence on my life because I was 19 at the time.
Well, something
I didn't realize those types of things until I got older, and said, "Hey, the person I am is the community centers that I grew up in.
Well,
Wow.
Bill enlightened me the other day of something I did not know about him as well, was why he was preparing for this job. He told me he was a school bus driver. I did not know that. So,
Which I was trained. I learned. I got the job at Dennison House.
Dennison House,
I was
yeah.
19 years old.
Yeah.
wow.
And they said, we'll hire you
Yeah.
to be a counselor, but you have to drive the school
Yeah.
bus. So they put me in bus driver school.
Yeah.
But what happens is they would rent the bus from the bus company.
Mm-hmm.
So the bus company would train you, get your license with you. They would go down to the registry
Yeah.
and do the test with you,
Yeah.
so you can get the bus driver license. So I was 19 years old driving a big yellow school bus
Yeah.
with a busload of kids. I said, I don't know who would allow a 19-year-old kid to drive
Mama
a
did.
big bus
Mama-
nowadays, right? So
Yeah.
I did those things. Let me tell you, I can take out my photo album. I have pictures of me driving these kids. Like after the camp during the day, I would
Wow.
do the basketball team in the evening. But I have, a picture of all these kids, my teenagers now, sitting on the bus, the top of the bus,
Yeah.
and this beautiful picture. But some of these kids are still like they were kids. To me, I was 19. They weren't much younger than I was. Some of them are my best friends to this day. They're teachers. They're Dr. Sharon, who I just mentioned. She's an oral surgeon. So, she had the money to give her child, the training that she needed to be an Olympic gold medalist and stuff. But there's so many good stories that came out of my interaction, me working in the community centers. And it just wasn't the Dennison House. I worked at the Roxbury Boys and Girls Club. I worked at South End Boys Club. I worked at the...
So, Bill, your resume really prepared you for where you are today,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even in your
It did.
retirement from the police department. And so that's why I say it comes full circle and you start seeing all the dots being
Wow.
connected, right? And
For sure.
the plan is to bring in more people like yourself. Dr. Bradley's just giddy.
No,
I can't believe
no,
it.
that's the thing.
I can't believe
But
it.
you know how they say, like, it's like you don't know what that drop of water will do, the ripple
Yeah.
effect, what it's going to do in the
Exactly.
future. So it's like you doing it, just being consistent and being it. And I have similar stories where kids were like, you were a positive role model in my life. They're like, I wouldn't be here because I'm like, what? I taught you Connect Four, chess, or how to read. And it's like, you don't think it's that important.
Yeah,
But
yeah, you
then-
don't think so, but I remember the
Yeah.
conversation that Mauma and I had about hiring him. You know what I mean? And now I hear about all. I'm like, I can't believe it. I mean, I was a young man myself, trying to learning through our emotions, man, and what to do. But
Right. That's
to
why
hear
I
this
wanted
is
him to come
powerful.
on this
It's
morning
powerful.
because I think people need to understand that there are people like Bill in their communities,
Wow. Wow.
that are out there doing the work, and that why this program, the community care team meeting is going to be taking place next Wednesday from 6 to 8 p.m. at MAMLEO headquarters, 61 Columbia Road, as well as the resiliency building training program the following day on Thursday, Halloween, from 10 to 12:30 at the Sportsman's Center Club on Blue Avenue.
I was going to say, are we inviting people from the Baker meeting?
Yeah, we did. We sent it out to citizens.
Okay,
but
just wanna
if-
make sure.
If
Yeah.
you're going to be this Wednesday, as
I'll
well,
remind them.
Yeah, and they can scan the QR code. If you call in, we'll send you the information as well, and it'll be on the website. But this is like having a conversation at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
This is what we do on Saturday mornings for giggles: is to come in here and try to inform and enlighten.
But now we got new mics
Our
in there.
community, I know, we're getting used to some of the new equipment in here. We're saying we've grown this, and this is part of the reasons why, when I was president of MAMLEO and the opportunity came to have this broadcast, the importance of it to be able to get information out there on our grounds, on our terms, and not have somebody dictate what we can and cannot say. Bill, we know we've kept you from your coffee this morning, brother. I appreciate you. Like I said, I'm very grateful that you're in my life and in the community's life, and I truly look forward to this long-term endeavor because we know the work being put in is much needed. And with the craziness in this world now, we're going to have to expand this. We're going to have to bring in Dr. Bradley because he's in academia, and this is all the stuff. We got a couple minutes. So, Bill, any closing remarks you want to say, brother, before we let you go?
Yes, sir. So I just want to say, I love what you guys are doing. This is the radio station itself is grassroots. You get up early in the morning.
Yes.
You're out here trying to service the community, and that comes from love of community. That doesn't come from somebody that wants to say, hey, look at me. This is who I am. I'm a big shot. No, this comes from people that are passionate about what they do, passionate about the community, the information that you guys give out is information that is vital to us if we're going to survive in this city and grow as a people throughout this country. This model that you guys have here needs to be duplicated across the state,
Amen.
across the nation.
Yeah.
And it starts here. It starts at the grassroots level.
Yeah.
So this hopefully, gives people an opportunity to have a voice and, to share information. They can call into the radio station like I did and ask questions and talk about what they're doing. Like I said, community is huge for me. And the stories that I just told you, about me, about my upbringing, what I did, I think it's important for people to know and understand. And also, we smiled about some of the things I was saying, but I struggled also. So I think that helps me relate to a lot of the kids in my community because I always say, there but for the sake of God go I.
Yeah.
That could have been me. I know that. So I told you about some good stories, and I've lost some kids too that really hurt me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you don't forget them either, and you always think about what else could you have done.
Right.
So as much as we do, it's never enough,
Right.
but we keep doing it.
Bill, we got to get you on, and I know because you're not too far in
Yes.
studio, talk about some of your films. I mean, you have a real telling and compelling story, and a very motivating story of your life. Like I said, maybe we have to turn Bill's life into a movie from him riding a bus there. Up until,
right.
and
I remember it too.
up until then.
Wow.
Bill, again, thank you, brother. I will be
about
talking
that.
to you soon because I know we got a lot to get done. But thank you for taking
Yes,
the
sir.
time this morning. And again, more importantly, thank you for your commitment to our community. You're right. We're trying to get a broadcast, not just similar to Monday through Friday. We don't have a informative, in my opinion. We have entertainment for us during the week, but we don't have informative information. No, and it can't just be one day a week.
Yeah, exactly.
So
But Bill, listen, say hello to the family for me, man, and it's
I
nice
sure
hearing
will.
from you, man. Be blessed.
Bill, I'll talk to you
Nice
soon.
talking
Thank
to
you,
you,
brother,
all right.
and have a cup of
All
coffee
right.
on me this morning.
All right.
Okay, I will.
All right, take care.
All right, brother.
bless.
Appreciate
Take
you too. So also want to remind folks, let's work to get out the vote. Today we meet at 10 a.m. this morning, Saturday the 26th, at the outside of the Roxbury Public Library in Nubian Square. Help us hand out flyers. Go vote, don't choke. That's sponsored by the New Democracy Coalition. Again, that's today, Saturday, October 26th at 10 a.m. It'll be right after this broadcast. Get out the vote outside of the Roxbury Public Library, Nubian Square. Help us hand out flyers. Go vote, don't choke. It's sponsored by the New Democracy Coalition. Gentlemen,
Go vote
yeah.
and don't choke.
Choke.
we're,
Yes.
we're getting close to the end of the time. We got 2 minutes. Any final remarks? I know Bill calling in is really
Bill
perked you
calling in has really excited me, man, because I remember the things that he was talking about, and I remember the person he was talking
full
about.
circle, right?
It's full circle, and
Yeah.
we never know the impact. And I remember my ex-wife and I talking to Uma about him driving the bus
Right.
and being so young. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
oh yeah, I forgot all about that. You
Well,
know
that's
what I
what
mean?
when he said the other day he drove the school bus. I'm like, Bill, when did you find that?
Yeah,
You didn't find time for that in your schedule. But to your point, Dr. Bradley, and you talking about you never know the impact. I think the impact was even bigger when you don't at least try and engage. Right?
Yeah.
That impact will never be known because a lot of times we walk by things.
Yeah, which leads me to my very next hit. Failure to vote in this election should not be an option
No.
for people, especially people of color,
Right?
because your livelihood, your comfort,
Yes.
the things that you expect to achieve, things that you expect to
mere
provide,
existence.
is
It's being
pending on
threatened.
this. I know you may think this is a whole lot of rhetoric, and then I'm just talking out of the side of my face.
And
But
it's
listen,
not just about
if
your
you
economic situation.
exactly, it's not about this condition. You're talking about the way that we have been governing for our lives in this country, being jeopardized because of one person's desire to stay out of jail
Yeah,
and maintain control.
exactly.
Yeah.
Rose, real quick.
No, I was again the importance of voting, like he says, is just do not do. So many people died for the right for us to be able to do this,
That we
and
take for
again,
granted.
and we've gotten to this point where it's like almost like we're throwing it away. Please,
Right.
you know.
Go vote. Early
Yes.
voting is already started. Thank you, folks. Thank you, Pastor Haas. Appreciate he can go back and finish his nap.
And,
Listen to at the round table with MAMLEO.
Be blessed. Go vote. Don't choke.
Always rooting for the under.
Right? Is it live or Memorex? We're live this morning. The recording was about to take over there. Good morning. Welcome to At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I'm your host, Larry Ellison. And here, engineering as usual, Pastor Hobbs. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. You know, I tell you, that spiritual inspiration I always get when I come in here a few minutes ahead. No, really, I tell you, you need that coming in here early in the morning, something to wake you up, shock your system into, why am I up at 6 o'clock in the morning? Right.
Getting money, but love them for spitting crack. And the fact that one track and move a family out the trap. It's a dream for us lost souls brought up in the mix. I'm motivated by the artists coming out in my midst. And the artists that paved the way when I didn't exist. Music's a skyscraper, I'm just trying to add a couple bricks.
This is for the dreamers. They say I am a dreamer. Cause I still believe that anything is possible as long as you work hard. Hustle real hard, hustle real hard. Hustle real hard, hustle so if I never see ya, never get the chance to meet ya, know I came up from the bottom, all